Hello, greetings. Today I'm gonna rank the entire discography of the band Katatonia, which is, as for now anyway, my favorite band of all time. So let's just go. Let's just start with the ranking. And at the bottom of my list, although it's not a bad album, it's their by far the weakest release, Dance of December Souls, and I'm including with the EP Jhva, Elohim, Meth, or Jhva, Elohim, Meth, or whatever you pronounce that. So yeah, I think this is the album with the most boring artwork. You can see the artwork on the screen right now. It's not really special, it's not that interesting. The title of the album, I think it's really interesting, you know, Dance of December Souls with the purple font and all, and the logo of the band. I think it was really interesting to have this logo back then. So this album here, I'm gonna say my favorite songs are Seven Dreaming Souls, Gateways of Bereavement, whatever. And I think Without God, it's interesting. It's an interesting song. Also, there's the Elohim Math song. So overall, it's not a bad album. It's just that I think for that time, this is really a product of its time. You know, early 90s doom metal was really remaking itself. I know Black Sabbath is the band that created doom metal. The very first heavy metal album was a doom metal album, but I believe in the 90s with bands such as My Dying Bride, early Katatonia, early Anathema, all of those bands really recreated doom metal, and I think this is really a product of its time. So yeah, those are my preferred songs: Seven Dreaming Souls, Gateways of Bereavement, Elohim Math, and yeah, I think that's it. There's some very long songs like Velvet Thorns of Dreamwheel and Tomb of Insomnia, but from the album itself, those are the ones I prefer. There's also my actual favorite ones from the EP: Midwinter Gates, the prologue, and Crimson Tears. I know it's the bookmark songs, just the introduction and the closing tracks. Crimson Tears is just literally the sound of water falling down, but man, amazing. There's also this album also has a, let's say, non-official release. I believe it was released in 2007, which it has a different album artwork, but the band, it wasn't the band that released this, it was the label. So yeah, not considering this. Well, that's at the bottom of the list. Let's move on to the next album, The Great Cold Distance. Ooh, The Great Cold Distance. Yeah, that album is actually at the bottom of my list. Well, second bottom one. I'm considering the 10th anniversary edition, which has a bunch of extra content. The original album has only 12 songs, and the anniversary edition has 7 extra songs. So yeah, this album definitely, if you don't know Katatonia, listen to this album. Start this band with this album because you won't be disappointed. It is the best introduction you can have to this band. Although I didn't start with this album, but whatever. The artwork, I'm gonna show you the anniversary edition artwork, is a mixture between The Great Cold Distance artwork and I believe their EP. What was it called? I forgot. There was an EP with a funny name, and well, this wing is from that EP. So the album starts with Leaders, Deliberation, Soil Song, My Twin, Consternation, Follower, Rusted, Increase, July in the White, The Itch, and Journey Through Pressure. Man, these songs are all the most popular songs from this band. My Twin is still to this day the #1 most popular song this band has ever made. The lyrics, this band I haven't mentioned, but they have this very depressing vibe to it. Their lyrics are always very reflective, and you need to go through layers and layers of meaning to understand the pain and the message they're trying to share. And I really like this band. This is my favorite one. So I think Liberation, really fun song. My Twin, also I really like it. July, really good song. I think my favorite ones are the 4 first songs from the album, but we haven't talked about the extra bonus songs. My Twin, a remix version of it. Displaced, Dissolving Bonds, another remix of In the White, and there's also another remix of Soil Song. And then there's Code Against the Code and Unfurl. So I'm just gonna tell you, Code Against the Code and Dissolving Bonds, these two extra songs that are from that funny titled EP, that are bonus songs in this album here. Those two are maybe my 2 favorite Katatonia songs ever. I just think they're way more interesting than anything else in this album, and both songs I just kept listening to them on loop. I couldn't stop because of how good they are, and even now I still want to go back to them and just listen to them because they are so good. Dissolving Bonds, mostly, man, what a good song, and Code Against the Code. So go ahead, listen to these two, you won't be disappointed. Well, let's move on to the next album. Viva, Emptiness is the next one. And man, this album really went all over the place. My opinion on it went up and down and came back, and I really liked it, but then I didn't like it anymore. I'm considering the 10th anniversary edition as well, because the audio is very remixed and is, well, I think better than the original one. I'm gonna say, man, this album is the one album that does not sound like Katatonia. Like, they're a band, as I mentioned with their first item on this list, at the very album at the bottom. They're a band that evolved with time. Back in the 90s, they released the albums that really fit the atmosphere from the 90s, starting very doom. Then they made a death doom album. Then they went a more alternative doom metal sound. Then they came back into the 2000s with this more alternative rock, progressive metal influenced sound. Then in the late 2000s, they went this more progressive rock direction, maybe a little bit influenced by Opeth. But the difference that Opeth, they released many death metal albums and then suddenly changed, no, let's make progressive rock. With Katatonia, I think it was a slow process. They released a death doom album in the 90s, I'll be talking about that later on in this video. They went into the 2000s, they changed their sound, they evolved with time, but their identity, their Katatonia identity, was always there. For one exception, this album right here. This album does not sound like Katatonia at all. I'm not saying that it's a bad album. I'm just saying, if you wanna listen to Evanescence, Linkin Park, listen to this album. This is a lot more like those releases. There's also another album that is sort of like those more famous bands, but I'm gonna talk about that later on and why that album works and this one doesn't. So this album, I think the artwork is a bit boring. It's not as bad as their debut, but it's not as great as well. So Ghost of the Sun, great introduction. We have Sleeper, good song. Criminals, A Premonition, Will I Arrive, Born the Remembrance, Wealth, 1 Year From Now, Walking by a Wire, Complicity, Evidence, Omerta, Wait Outside, and Inside a City of Glass. I'm gonna say this is one of those cases where I believe the second side of an album is better than the first side, and my favorite songs are all on the second side. Evidence, Omerta, Wait Outside, and Inside the City of Glass. Just these 3 songs, Omerta, Wait Outside, and Inside the City of Glass, they are the best songs from this album by far. Like, the first song, Ghost of the Sun, is also really good. Sleeper is it's not bad, it's good as well. Then we have Criminals, but I think later on the album really goes down in quality. It's not as good as those first 3 songs. Then it goes all the way back with the last 4 songs. I think they really are way better than the songs in the middle. So overall, there was a time where when I thought this was, man, the best Katatonia release. It's amazing, it's sick. But now that I am more adapted to their sound and more familiarized with what Katatonia is, I just think, well, this album's not great. So, well, let's move to the next one. Night is the New Day. Look at this artwork. This angel with a city on, I guess it's not really on fire. It just has a red sky. Within its veil, well, within its cape, whatever. You're looking at the artwork. This album here, it was released after The Great Cold Distance, and I believe Jonas Ranksy, the vocalist, had writer's block after releasing their, well, most popular album to date. So you can really hear the writer's block here. It's not that this album is uninspired, it's not that this album is bad, it's just they had many good ideas. The songs were going a direction, but then they wouldn't go the direction. They would stop, they would do something else in the song, and then the song is over and you're like, wow, that's the song. So that's my opinion on this album here, although I really like it as well. Every album in here, even the one at the bottom, Dance of December Souls, I really like all of these albums. So this one, Forsaker, starts the album. Then we have The Longest Year, which might be my favorite song. We have Idle Blood, Onward into Battle, Liberation, The Promise of Deceit, Nephilim, New Night, Inheritance, Day and Then the Shade, Departer. Maybe Departer is also my favorite song. I don't know. This album has some good moments, but those good moments could have been way better. Then we have Ashen, Soul, Heart, Day and Then the Shade. Again, it's a different remix. And Idle Blood, Acoustic Blood. Oh, it's an acoustic. I didn't even remember that. I think it's an acoustic version of Idle Blood. This last song here, I don't remember. Well, it's been a while since I listened to this one, so, well, overall this album, it's pretty consistent. It's not a bad album, but if Jonas Ranksy didn't have writer's block back then, this album here would have been so much higher on my list. The songs in here would have been so much better, but, well, it is what it is. So, not a bad album. Let's just move on to the next one, which is, ooh, I can't believe this. It's Tonight's Decision. If you go back in my channel, you can see that once upon a time I released a bunch of album ranking videos just showing the artwork, a piece of a song, and you know, that's about it, ranking them like that. A long time ago I did it. Tonight's Decision was my number 1 back then, but also I wasn't that familiarized with the band. When I first got into Katatonia, I thought, oh, this band is really nice, really interesting. Around a year later, in 2021 I believe, or 2022, yeah, 2021, when the year was about to end, you know, it's New Year's Eve. In December I used to go a lot to a friend's house. We would do these little barbecues between a little group of us. We were in like 5 or 6. Sometimes we would ask other people. We would not ask. We would grant access. We would call someone else to partake into the group. Sometimes we got woman there. Well, not that kind of woman. Woman friends, which we study with. But I'm messing up this story anyway. There was a night when I was always that one person who didn't really connect with anyone, but I was still there in the group. So that one night I just went back home, and I went back home listening to Tonight's Decision. I remember listening the songs For My Demons, I Am Nothing, in Death, a song. I remember the word invite. Sometimes we invited other people and girls we knew back then, so yeah, that's the word I was trying to remember, but whatever. I remember going home, not going to home, oh boy, going home and listening to this album right here, Tonight's Decision, I Am Nothing, in Death, a song, Had to Leave, This Punishment, Right Into the Bliss, No Good Can Come of This, Strained, Darkness Coming, Nightmares by the Sea, Black Session, No Devotion, and Fractured. I have no complaints about any of these songs. This, I believe so far, this has been the most, let's say, consistent album out of them. This has been the most consistent one. No dips in quality. The quality always remains the same throughout this album here. It's just the song This Punishment, it could have been way better considering also another release of this band. So man, we're gonna talk about that. It's coming up as well. So yeah, my only complaint is that This Punishment could have been a way better song, but well, it's not that great as it could have been. And the artwork, look at this artwork. Interesting. They changed their logo. It's this logo right there. Look at it. So yeah, not a bad album. I enjoy it. I would recommend this to you if you wanna be really depressed. Listen to it. Let's go up. And next up we have the album that started it all. The album that introduced me to the band, Dead and Kings. The thing that made me listen to this band was another band called The Ocean. I was listening to The Ocean, their album Paleozoic 2, and there was, this song featuring Jonas Ranksy. What's this Jonas Ranksy guy? And then I discover, oh, Katatonia, band Katatonia. Look at this album, Dead and Kings. Look at this artwork. Beautiful. I love this artwork so much. Is it my favorite artwork ever from theirs? Maybe not. There's some other contenders. So this is the this is the album that introduced me to the band, and man, I love this album. Departing, The One You Are Looking For Is Not Here, Hypnon, The Racing Heart, Buildings, Leech Ambitions, Undo You, Lithium, First Prayer, Dead Letters, and The Act of Darkening. All these songs, they're so amazing, they're so good. My favorite ones would be Departing, The One You Are Looking For Is Not Here, Hypnon, The Racing Heart, Lithium, Dead Letters, and The Act of Darkening. Those songs right there are my favorite ones from this album. All the songs really represent very well the artwork, and the artwork really represents the songs. I messed that up a little bit, but you get what I'm trying to say. This artwork goes along so well with the music. It represents the music extremely well, and I just think the 10th anniversary edition artwork from that edition is better than this one, but well, they didn't release it for streaming services, so that's disappointing. But anyway, amazing album. If you wanna have the same experience I had, listen to this one. This is it was Night is the New Day, which introduced the more progressive rock oriented elements, but this one really went far deeper into the genre. So I would recommend you to listen to this album if you wanna have the same experience I had. So really good album. Let's move on to the next one, let me check my list. Discouraged Ones. This album here is by far their most depressing album of all. This is when they first changed their logo from their first logo to this one, Katatonia, the Scourged Ones. This artwork represents the music so well as well, and man, this album here, as I already mentioned, is their most depressive, and I love it so much. You have no idea how much I love this album. I Break is the best introduction ever. Stalemate, so good. Dead House, Relation, Cold Ways, all these songs are amazing. And then we have Gone. Gone is what this punishment could have been. Gone is the exact same thing, a little interlude song, 2 minutes 50 seconds. It just goes from the previous song to the next one. And Gone is, I think, by far the most depressing song Katatonia has ever released, and it's also one of my favorite songs from theirs. Such a great song this is. If they did this punishment a little bit different, you know, a little bit more memorable, it would have been as good as this song here, Gone. Man, listen to it if you want to have the most depressing time of your life. Listen to the song, really good. Then we have Last Resort, Nerve, really good song. Saw Your Drown is also one of my favorite songs from this album. It's so amazing. Then we have Instrumental, which honestly I'm gonna say is the most disappointing song from this album. It's an instrumental and it's titled Instrumental, so creativity. We have then Distrust, Quiet World, and Scarlet Heavens, which I believe it was recorded actually in the early 90s. They didn't really know what to do with the song because it didn't fit, it didn't go along with any of their previous releases, so they just released it as a bonus song in this album here. So Discouraged Ones, their most depressing album, amazing album. So let's just move on to the next one, which is Cerebarios. So when I started listening to Katatonia, I started with Dead End Kings. I listened to that album a few times and I thought, this band is really interesting. But for about a year I didn't go deeper into their discography. I just saw them as a side thing. You know, I'm not gonna really listen to this band. They just have some good albums here and there. But then Cerebarios came out. It was in 2020, so I believe those events I described actually happened in 2020. But anyway, Cerebarios came out. I saw this guy, Notes Reviews, talking about this album. I noted how he complained about this album being too depressing, and this album being about a depressing world, different from their previous release, blah blah blah. When I heard that, I was instantly hooked. What, depressing music? I wanna listen to that. So this artwork here, just look at it. It represents the album so well. It's one of their best artworks, I think. And all the songs are just as good. Hurt Heart, Set Divide, Behind the Blood, Locker, Rain, The Winter of Our Passing, Vanishers, City Glaciers, Flicker, Lachesis, Neon Epitaph, Untrodden, and Fighters. I'm gonna say I think the worst song actually is Fighters. It's not. It's a closing song. It's at the very end. So yeah, whatever. You can pass. Lachesis is also, I think, one of the most interesting songs in this album. Then we have maybe actually my favorite song from this band in reality, Vanishers. Vanishers is so different from anything else Katatonia has ever released. It's like it's a, let's say, experimental post-metal song with some, well, this whole album and the one they released after this one are all very electronic sounding, but this album here, Vanishers, goes beyond that. It has also a guest musician, a woman singing in this album, which I think her vocals really work with what this song is doing. So go ahead, listen to this album here, Vanishers, my favorite song from Katatonia probably ever. I can't think of any other. No, actually I can think of a few. songs I prefer other than this, but whatever. Really good album. Listen to this one. Amazing release. Let's move on to the next one, which is amazingly their most recent release. Sky Void of Stars, released this year, 2023, January 20th. Sky Void of Stars. First of all, this artwork, I love this artwork. Look at all the birds, crows. I really like crows. All the songs in here just as the same. All the songs in here I love. Austerity, Colossal Shade, Opaline, Birds, Drab Moon, Altar, Impermanence, Sclera, Atrium, No Beacon to Illuminate or Fall, and Absconder, a bonus song. So, man, I'm actually thinking to myself, do I prefer this or the next album that's coming up on the list? But I think it's a hard decision. These last 5 albums on my list are all the same to my eyes and to my ears. Amazing, great, some of the best albums ever made, and this one no different. It really shows what I mentioned previously, where Katatonia is a band that didn't just change their sound, they adapted their sound, they improved with time, they added things that were going around the world to their albums and their lyrics and all of that. And this album, like, they talk about cell phones and the modern world and how everyone lives in this, well, fake society. Well, not at all, but anyway, this album really good. It doesn't sound like something that should have been released 10 years ago or something like that. It really is a modern release. I feel like this album here is not timeless. Well, not timeless to the past, but to the future it will be a timeless album that people, if they appreciate what's being played in here, will never get tired of. So really good album, really amazing. Let's move on to the next one, which is The Fall of Hearts. The Fall of Hearts is by far their most progressive album of all. They also have this amazing artwork. Look at it, this bird and this field and this tree. Amazing artwork, man, beautiful, really beautiful. This is also, I believe, their longest album. Yeah, 1 hour 7 minutes. It has 12 songs, and their, well, not their longest songs. Their debut still has their longest songs, but their longest songs in like 20 years. So, Take Over. What a great introduction, 7 minutes. I love what they do with the guitars in this album and the drums. It's so memorable. Then we have Shrine, Old Heart Falls, Decima, Sanction, Residual, Serac, Last Song Before the Fade, Shifts, another song. I really like what they do with the song, with all the alarms and those sound effects. I really like this song here. The Night Subscriber, Pale Flag, and Passer. This album is so memorable. It's like they were going that progressive metal direction with The Night is the New Day, Dead and Kings, and then with this. And after this album they decided to go a more post-metal direction with City Burials and then the Sky Void of Stars. So I really like what they've been doing the past 10 years. I really think they're going the right direction. I really think that. As you can see, most of their recent albums are all on the top of my list, so this band does not disappoint. So yeah, this is their most progressive album. If you like progressive rock, progressive metal, go ahead and listen to this. You won't be disappointed. Let's go on to the album that I probably listen to the most, Brave Murder Day. This album here, it has some of my favorite guitar parts of all time. I'm just gonna talk about that. First of all, there's a song called 12, which it was a song that actually didn't get much attention, and from what I see, people who like this band doesn't really pay attention to the song. Like, if you check out the number of plays this album has, this is the song with the least plays. So that's a bit sad, because that guitar part between 3 minutes and 5 minutes right there, after he says like 12 morbid ways to die, her beauty scares me. After that part, the guitar that plays is just my favorite guitar maybe ever. I can think sort of a few different guitar parts I really like, but that one is the most memorable guitar ever. I just love what they do. And the saddest thing, my favorite guitar part ever lasts for around 40 seconds, maybe less than that, so yeah. A bit disappointing, but really good. So this album, it has 6 songs: Brave, Murder, and Day. See what they did that? The title of the album is Brave, Murder, Day, and they made that into 3 songs. Amazing. Brave is a 10-minute long song. Really good opening track. Murder as well is a good song. They go different direction. Oh, also something I forgot to mention is that Mikhail Akerfeld from Katatonia is on this album. He's the singer on all the songs, with the exception of Day, which is Jonas Ranksy, the vocalist. So yeah, look at that. Then we have Rainy Room, 12, and End Time. But I'm not just considering Brave, Murder, Day. I'm considering their 2 EPs. One of them is Sound of Decay and the other one is For Funerals to Come. So let's talk about Sound of Decay first. It has 3 songs: Nowhere, At Last, and Inside the Fall. I think those 3 songs are really the shift between their death doom sound from this release and their sound that was upcoming on their next release, Discouraged Ones. Those 3 songs really show you how they're changing their sound and they're changing their vocals. And I really think those 3 songs are not that great, but you know, they really aren't bad. They're just the transition between one era of the band and another. So let's talk about For Funerals to Come. 6 songs it has: Funeral, Wedding, Shades of Emerald Fields, For Funerals to Come, Epistel, Black Erotica, and Lava the Swan. This artwork here is some trees, you know, it's like trees looking up. I think the colors are inverted. I imagine to do this artwork they took a picture of a tree during the day and they inverted the colors so it looks, you know, the sky is black and the tree is white. And this album here, it starts with Funeral, Wedding. Memorable, so memorable, such a memorable song, really good. Shades of Emerald Fields, not that bad, but still really good. For Funerals to Come and Epistel are 2 transition songs, really creepy, scary sound effects of demons and such. I really like those 2 songs. And then we have this song right here, Black Erotica. This song is basically a demo of the song 12. When I was listening to this and I got it, and I got to that guitar part, I was like, man, I recognize this from somewhere. It was when I was still getting accustomed to this band. And then, Black Erotica, it has this part here. Let me check their other album, Brave, Murder, Day, and when I listened to that, to the song 12, it clicked. Man, it's the same song, but 12 is better than this. Actually, there's some sound effects in Black Erotica that are really missing in Brave, Murder, Day, but, well, that song still kicks ass in both versions. Then the album ends with Love the Swan. How do you pronounce that? Whatever. So one thing I'm gonna say, remember that group of friends I mentioned that we would go and eat barbecue at his home? My friend at his house. Well, that friend is not alive anymore. He died around a year ago. And when I discovered that happened and he wasn't here anymore, he was like my best friend at the time. And just I stopped seeing that group of people because my connection with them was this guy. And when he died, it was just like, well, I have no reason anymore to be with you because he was the person that really mattered to me and he's not here anymore, so I'm out. And this album, when that happened, this album, or well, this EP for Funerals to Come, I kept listening to it like on loop for around 2-3 weeks. So that happened, and well, that's a friend I will never forget. He will always come back. The memory of his presence. He was a really important person. So yeah, I wanted to share that little story with you. But let's move on to the last album here, which is, well, there's only one left. Last Fair Deal Gone Down. I'm gonna consider the deluxe edition. This artwork is sick, it's disgusting, but it's beautiful. I love it. I just love this artwork. It represents the music so well. And this is the one case where I firmly believe every single song is amazing. All the albums up to here, they had really good songs. They had like all the songs pretty consistently good, amazing songs. But this one is the one album where I feel all the songs are so memorable and so good, and all of them could have been singles by themselves and they would work really well. So we start with Dispossession, Chrome, We Must Bury You, Tear Gas, I Transpire, Tonight's Music, Clean Today, The Future of Speech, Passing Bird, Sweet Nurse, Don't Tell Us So, So For, 38047, Help Me Disappear, and Oh How I Enjoy the Light. Man, this album here, I am speechless. All the instruments are so memorable. This album, before this point, the band had released 3 albums, Dance of December, Brave Murder, and Scourged Ones. Those albums, it was Jonas Ranksy that was playing the drums and while doing the singing as well. But this is the first album where he's not playing the drums anymore. And I'm gonna be honest, his drumming wasn't that bad, but he really improved. Oh, I also forgot about Tonight's Decision. Yeah, there's also Tonight's Decision. All those songs, the drumming wasn't bad, especially the Scourged Ones and Tonight's Decision. Those 2 albums had really good drumming, but this one, when Jonas could just focus on writing the lyrics and singing while they had their own drummer to do all the drumming, well, obviously, that's when the band completely shifted. This is the album I said that sounds like those 2 early 2000s alternative rock bands, you know, Evanescence, Linkin Park, but the difference that this is really good. Well, Evanescence is also really good. Linkin Park, not good at all, really bad. But, well, this album, this album here, man, it's amazing how this didn't come out as one of the most popular albums from that era. It's really sad that this album just isn't the most popular album of all time, because all the songs here, really, honestly, all the songs here are so memorable. Alright, it's ridiculous. How is this not more popular? Maybe I am blinded because I love this album so much and it's my favorite album from Katatonia and I love every single part of every single little song in this. But it's really amazing how can people not know about this album? Why are people still listening to Linkin Park and those early 2000 rock bands and not this? This is amazing. But whatever. Well, that was my favorite album from Katatonia. I hope you enjoyed my list. And well, what more can I say? That was the whole ranking of Katatonia. I hope you enjoyed this video. Probably my longest ranking ever because I had a lot to talk about this band. It is my favorite band overall. So yeah, leave in the comments your opinions. What do you think about this band? If you like it, if you don't like it. Oh, also another thing I didn't say was that the album Sky Void of Stars is also already my #1 favorite album of the year. So yeah, really good release. Katatonia did really well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave in the comments what you think about this band, as I said. Until the next video.